everyone, welcome to Topic UFO. We are on episode number 10 tonight. Can you believe it? We've actually completed 10 shows. It's been a hectic 10 weeks or 11 weeks, whatever it's been. Each time we get a little better, and luckily the guests and the audience have been very patient with me, so thank you very much for that. Hey, tonight we have a super spectacular show tonight. We have Miss Janet Russell on. She will be our guest here in just a few. She's going to not only talk to us about her UFO abduction, which happened almost 50 years to the date. It was back on March 27th, 1962. But even just as interesting is what happened after that abduction and her new powers, if you know what I mean. And she's going to talk to us about that. Many of you may already know of Janet. She's been featured on A&E Paranormal State, Haunted New York, Psychic to the Stars on Channel 11 up there in Long Island, New York area. And she's also a TV host of Beyond the Unexplained. And then she's got a new show coming up, or is just started, on Paranormal TV Network, which is every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's also been featured in 2 of Brad Stagger's newest books, and we'll talk to her about that as well. So this is going to be a very interesting show. Anyway, let's move on here. I wanted to make sure that everybody bought their lotto ticket for tomorrow. Mega Millions, I believe it is. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but $500 million estimated jackpot, $500 million. I've bought my 5 quick picks, so I'm hoping. I also want to give a shout out for the Middle Tennessee MUFON meeting that's going to be starting on April 14th, Saturday. This will be a monthly meeting. I've put this together especially for people who live in and around the Nashville area. Currently there is not a Middle Tennessee meeting, so hopefully that's going to begin to grow. I've got a lot of feedback on it already, and got a lot of people saying they're going to be there, so looking forward to that. And also just wanted to let you guys know that we have Topic UFO is now on YouTube, Ustream, the Past TV Network, of course live stream, and you can get them from Topic UFO directly, topicufo.com as well. So we're trying to get this thing spread out as much as possible, so hopefully being on all those different websites will help. Of course, it helps if you tell a friend. All right, well, listen, I want to spend as much time as we can with Janet, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a dial right now and get her on the line.
Hello?
Hello, Janet.
Yes?
Can you hear me? This is Rick from Topic UFO.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I am so excited to be able to talk to you tonight. I don't think, in fact, I know I have never spoken to a UFO abductee, and I've never spoken to a psychic. So this is going to be twice the show for me. So I appreciate you taking the time. Yes, exactly, exactly. Well, listen, Janet, I'm not sure if you were listening, but I gave the folks just a quick overview of kind of your past and what you're involved in, and I know that we got to speak briefly this afternoon, and you are just a go type person. So I wish I could make this a 2-hour show, because maybe then we could get, you know, a quarter of what you're into. But We'll try to get as much as we can into this show, okay?
Sure, that sounds great to me.
All right. Well, listen, let's start off, if you don't mind, uh, where I guess it all began for you with this UFO experience, abduction, back in on March 27th, 1962, I believe.
Yes, it was just 50 years ago, 2 days ago, actually. And I will tell you, it was just as amazing for me as it is today when I think about it, because I actually had that experience. I was 4.5 months pregnant with my youngest daughter. I didn't find out what actually happened to me for 33 years later at the age of 55. I'm 71 now, even though I don't think it, look it, or act it. I think that's what keeps me young. But I actually, yeah, I'll tell you how it all started. I was actually 4.5 months pregnant, living where I still live, driving down to my doctor for my monthly checkup, because I was pregnant. On the way down there, it was a dirt road then. It is no longer, of course, because this is 50 years ago. It's one of the main thoroughfares here now in the town that I live in Medford, New York. As I was driving down, it was, like I say, it was dark. It was a dirt road. I left the house about 6:15 at the evening. My appointment was 6:30 that night. Well, lo and behold, as I'm driving down, I look up in the sky and see what looked like a moon spinning, but it was purple. It wasn't, of course, the normal color of our moon. So me being inquisitive as I was, I pulled over, got out of the car, and looked up. And as I looked up, it kept changing colors. It went from purple to blue to green to silver, and I guess I was just in awe of it. Well, the next thing I knew, I was back in my car driving to my doctor's office, except it wasn't at 6:30, it was at 7:30. When I got there, I walked into the office, and the first thing he said was, he actually didn't say it, I actually could hear him mentally saying, "Why is she so late? She should have been here an hour ago." And my face was peeling. Now we're in March here as we speak in New York. There's no major sun in New York at this time. It's not like I was in Florida. And the first thing he said was, "Look, what happened to your face?" And I didn't even know what happened. And he said, "Why is it peeling? It looks like you were sunburned. Were you in Florida?" And I said, "No, absolutely not." So sat down, got my checkup, everything, On the way home, I got home, and when my husband was there, and he said, "Why did you take so long?" Now, at this point, I didn't realize that I had lost over an hour time.
Yes.
Okay? So I kept thinking it was still, within the time. I thought the doctor's watch, something was wrong with that. But, of course, it was actually 7:30. I left. On the way home, I got home, and it was almost like somebody snapped their fingers. Now, mind you, I didn't know what had happened to me. But all of a sudden, I knew that I became intensely interested in UFOs, intensely psychic, more than I could have ever thought in my life. At the time, I was a very shy person. You'd never know it now, but I was only 22 years old. I became very, very interested, and I took a parapsychology course due to my interest and some of the things that had happened. Now, mind you, I still didn't know that I had an experience, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I took this course just because I was very, very interested, And the first thing we did was psychometry. I didn't even know what psychometry meant. I didn't even know what the word meant, okay? And I had gone with a neighbor of mine. She had given me a ring. What we did was the teacher says, take something from someone else, write down what you picked up. So, of course, I picked up, it was snowing, when this ring was given. I described this woman's house. I didn't even know who it was. It ended up where it was my friend's grandmother's ring. So that was the first thing. Then the next time, the teacher had us do like half of the class looked at some pictures, the other half wrote down. Well, I was the half that had to intuitively write down. I got 2 out of 3 pictures. So it just went on and on and on from there. So, as I said, I became insanely interested in UFOs. Still didn't know anything about it. Only knew the purple moon that was changing colors that I saw that night on March 27, 1962. Well, lo and behold, I happened to get something from this one of the local papers, and it had like a little UFO on it, and it was called Star People. And I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. So after me calling the person 5 and 6 times, I finally got through to them and found out that they had this meeting. Okay, so of course, since I was interested, I go to this meeting, and the gentleman, may he rest in peace, that was speaking, he's passed away since then, Brian Levins, he started showing pictures of scoop marks. And I looked at that picture and said, wow, I have one of those on my arm. And he said to me, have you ever had an abduction experience of seeing a UFO? And I started to tell him, well, yeah, I did see something in the sky, he said, did you lose time? I said, yeah, I lost an hour. And he said, well, aren't you inquisitive on what had happened that hour lost? So it comes down to, if you're not aware, how would you know what you're missing? Okay? So from that, he had recommended he had recommended that I go see this Dr. Jean Mundy, may she rest in peace. Now, Dr. Jean Mundy was very well known in the UFO field. She lived out in the Hamptons. I live in Medford, which is about maybe half hour, 40 minutes from where she lived, and it ended up where, at the time, I was working for a chiropractor who was extremely interested in UFO stuff. I didn't know that. He didn't know that. And then when I had told him, that I was going to get this regression to see what actually happened, he actually paid for it because he was so intrigued with what had happened. Well, lo and behold, I go there. Now, Dr. G. Mundy worked with Bud Hopkins, may he rest in peace, and John Mack. So sadly, all 3 of them are on the other side. And I'm sure they're smiling down right now seeing me talk about this, okay? I'm sure they're like, yeah, she's getting all the info out there. So anyway, I was amazed because when I was regressed back into this day, mentally I was as stable as I am now, but my body was shaking like a leaf. I guess it was the fear and the shock of seeing something that, that is not a normal sighting.
Exactly.
So anyway, I was literally, as you see on TV or you see in the movies, where actually a light shone down, and I actually was pulled up into this, into this ship. Okay. Now, mind you, I still was not aware of this. I was not aware of this for 33 years till I was 55 years old.
Now, but were you driving when this happened?
Yeah, I was actually driving, pulled over on the side of the road, got out of the car.
Gotcha.
And then had to look up,
Right.
And it was a dirt road, so there weren't that many cars on the road at that time. So anyway, when I went for my regression, nobody was more shocked than I was because I'm a pretty intelligent woman, and it bothered me to know that I had this experience without even being aware of it. That's what really bothered me more than anything, Now, mind you, in the 33 years that this had happened, I became extremely, extremely intuitive. Extremely intuitive. And it was so funny because as this happened, I started going to all of these UFO meetings, and all this. And for some strange, unknown reason, these people knew me when I went there. And I'm like, this is so weird.
That's a little scary, actually, not weird.
Yeah, well, I mean,
both.
I had known, what had happened. So anyway, then I ended up, and I got regressed. So this is exactly what happened from my regression. I actually was pulled up into this ship, I was in a small white room, and it looked like it had like a silver plate on the back of the wall. Well, what I saw would shock anyone. It looked like a praying mantis. Now, I'm only 4'11", so I'm very tiny. Not tiny, I'm short. I guess
Right.
and this thing was towering over me. But what the thing was, he had this pointer, like a teacher's pointer, and he started at the top of my head, and he kept going around my body. And I remember he poked me in my side, and I said, ow, that hurt. Now, remember, I was 4.5 months pregnant at the time, okay? After that, I didn't see this praying mantis again. But the next thing that came into the room looked like they were grays, and to me, I called them snowmen because they looked like snowmen. They were white, And the funny thing was, it looked like I could see their hearts beating. It was so strange, and they were speaking with me, intuitively, mentally, not verbalizing, and they were telling me, don't worry, we're not going to hurt you, and of course, me being me, my body was shaking like a leaf, and of course, I mean, first you come into this space and you see a giant praying mantis, who's examining you. I mean, this is not normal. Then the next thing you see are these two little white grays that are talking to you mentally, and I've never had a psychiatric a test, so I'm pretty much together.
Well, let me ask
at
you.
least I think so. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about these grays, because you say they look like snowmen, so they weren't the classical described gray with the big head and the slim body.
They had the big head. They had the big head.
And the big eyes and the almond.
Yes, huge eyes. Yes, huge eyes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so anyway, so they were talking to me intuitively. We're not going to hurt you. We're not going to hurt you. Well, all of a sudden, this reptilian pops up, okay, out of nowhere. Now, this reptilian reminded me of a when you go to the movie theater, like the I forgot what they call it, the guy that shows you to your seats, okay?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I know the guy.
Right. So he was literally leading us. I had the two grays, one on each side of me, who kept telling me, don't worry, we're not going to hurt you, blah, 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 The first room they took me into was, it looked like it was a pink room, and there were 20 incubators, okay? 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom. And in these incubators were Petri dishes, and in each incubator was another embryo, but as I looked through the incubators, each one progressed in size. Finally got down to the 20th one, and it was a baby girl.
A human baby girl.
Well, it looked human. The only difference was the eyes were not like our eyes.
So some type of hybrid, possibly.
Well, apparently so. The head was very big. The body was very tiny. But I remember when I looked at this child, I started sobbing. I said she belonged with us, not with them, okay? Now, I remember she smiled, and I mean, I was like, the love was so intense with this child. So from there, they took me into another room, and in that room, it was like a light blue room. Now, in there, again, 20 incubators, 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom. In these incubators were reptilians. So in other words, what they showed me basically was they were both conceived at the same exact moment, and apparently they were making hybrids. That's what they basically showed me. Now, from there, they took me into another room which was very large. It reminded me of a courtroom. Now, on one side there were three beings, two humanoid, one reptilian. On the other side there were three beings, two human, one reptilian. Now, when I looked straight ahead, there was a man that looked, he was the most handsomest being I have ever seen in my life. He had like a brown cloak on. He had long brown hair, the most bluest, beautiful eyes. I would acclimate him to look like Jesus if I had to say who it looked like. But now when I looked at him straight ahead, he looked as human as you and I. When I looked at him at an angle, he looked like a hologram.
Wow.
So this was wild. Now the next thing I knew, there was like a teeny, and like over in the corner, there was like a teeny little wire going into my arm, which apparently is the implant that I have. But what I was hearing was two different sounds. One sounded like a grunting, and one sounded like us speaking. So, of course, me being who I am, I said, what are you doing to me? Now, this tall, handsome being said, we're giving you information. When the time is right, you're going to know what to do with it. Now, this was 1962. Okay, at the time I was a very shy person. At the age of 29, I started working in the post office. I was the first woman letter carrier in New York. My husband became disabled, so I had 4 kids. I had to make sure, that they had an income coming in, so I worked my whole life, but I became so intensely psychic that I did that as a part-time job.
Yeah.
Because I had the gift. And no one was more amazed than me. So then when I started going, to different UFO conferences and videotaping it for my show, I used to have a show called The Unexplained with Joanne and Janet, where I had gone to many different conferences, videotaped, met many, many, many people. I met Edgar Mitchell, I met, Whitley Strieber. I met them all of them that were in that field, and it was so strange because it's almost like they knew me. How, I don't know, but I had videotaped so many different, people to put on my show. I had been down to Pensacola, I had been to Connecticut, I had literally been, all over the country just about to videotape these things. Now, the funny thing was, that they knew me, and they had no problem being on my show, So I had did that. But then again, after this had happened, now while I was taping these shows, though, I hadn't known what had happened to me still. I just knew that I was very interested in the field, and it kind of opened up the door for me. So,
So what year did you actually go through the regression?
Well, I was 55, so it had to be, I guess, 95.
95.
1995. And this happened in 1962.
So now, before you went through the regression and you were starting to get these psychic abilities and stuff, I mean, did it drive you crazy as far as, where's this coming from? Why all of a sudden?
I was amazed. I was actually amazed because even to this day, when I do my shows, and when I do many fundraisers and stuff, I am still amazed at the gift, because I know I'm a smart woman, but I still consider myself the vessel, and whatever information, it amazes me. In 93, I had a near-death experience. I do believe in God, I have to say that. I had a congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy, and 2 heart attacks all at once. The doctors were amazed that I was still alive. And I actually believed in God. I saw myself in the palm of Jesus' hand. And I'm not a religious person, but I have a lot of faith in God. And, and I said, well, you got my attention now. The doctors came in. They gave me the last rites. And the next day, they were shocked that I was still alive. Now, that was in 93, okay? So then I could not work in the post office anymore because, of my heart. I had a lot of issues. Now, it'll be 4 years, April 7th, I had a massive, massive heart attack. I had 98% of my heart was blocked.
My Lord.
And I actually died April 9th. And it seems the closer that I get to going to the other side, the more open I become. So it was April 7th, 4 years. It'll be 4 years this April. I had a massive heart attack. April 9th, I actually died, only for 14 seconds, but I did connect with another person that was in the hospital, a 19-year-old boy who actually was brain dead. And it was so amazing because after I got out of the hospital, I went to go right back to work. And, of course, it being that I needed to rest, which I don't know the word, I ended up breaking my ankle. And 4 months, I had to learn how to walk all over again. So now I listen. When I get those little signs, I say, okay, God, I'm listening. But since then, I mean, Brad Steiger, and you know he's a very well-known author, he's actually mentioned me in his book. In fact, the newest book that there's literally I guess about a 4-page, I guess you say chapter. His book is Real Aliens, Space Beings, and Creatures from Other Worlds. It's by Brad Steiger and Sherry Hansen Steiger. And he literally wrote about my experience in there, and I'm actually going to be doing a cruise. In fact, I see Robert on there. He's a great guy. Robert runs Mystical Cruise, and I actually do his show once a month, and we're going to be leaving January 27th to February 3rd. We're leaving from New Orleans, and I'm going to actually be discussing my UFO experience on there.
Well, let me ask. Got a question for you.
Sure.
Since this initial abduction back in 1962, have you been visited again, or was it just that one time?
I had, after the fact, I remember waking up one night, literally floating on my bed. My bed was shaking, and apparently there was some action there as well. I've never been regressed again since that first time, but when we did have Hale Bopp, when Hale Bopp was around many years back, my implant was actually throbbing. It was really, really weird.
Wow.
And, I had met with David Icke. He had come down one time. I did not even know it was David Icke. He had did, a show with me. Of course, unfortunately, I never did see it. I also had some people from Japan came, and they were actually at my house 5 days, and they had actually flown my daughter, who I was pregnant with, down. We did a 3-hour special somewhere in Japan. They were supposed to send me a copy. I never got it. But my daughter was born with an implant in the back of her leg. And when I went to the, they took me to, what do you call that, where they, the skin doctor, I forgot what they call it.
Dermatologist?
Thank you, a dermatologist in the city. I never said anything about what had happened, but when they looked into my arm, they said it looks like an insect bite that was calcified. Now, you can actually feel this. It doesn't show on an X-ray, but it shows on an MRI. And how I know was I had been in a car accident, and I had a rotator cuff accident, and it was this arm. And you could actually see it on an MRI, but it doesn't bother me. I was asked, did I want to have it taken out, and I said no, because I don't know if it's a tracking device. I mean, it has not bothered me since the Hale Bopp thing, Whether it's active, I don't know. But I do know that I've become extremely intuitive, as far as my readings, as far as when I connect with those on the other side. I amaze myself, to be honest with you. I really do.
So, when someone says that they're intuitive, I guess that's the same as saying psychic or
right, exactly.
Interchangeable, right? So, when this all started, how did you become aware of it? Did you start having premonitions? Did you start feeling that you were reading people's minds? And how did you come to understand it?
I took the course. I went and took the course, and I was amazed because the teacher was looking at me like, you know more than what I thought. And I'm like, really, you know? And I remember the one time that we did the psychometry, because I guess she thought maybe I was in cahoots with people, and I don't. I'm a very honest woman. I'm very above board. I really am. I don't lie, you know. My credibility is above par, you know, because that's the way. And you only stay with positive people, positive energies, because I can't deal with negative. It just takes you down, and it's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, when I go do my events, like if I do the spirit communication, and I do a lot of fundraisers, that's a 2-hour event, and I actually write the names of the people on the other side that have messages for, you know, for the people that are at these events. But I basically, you know, I use it to help people. You know, I mean, I have found one lady called me. She couldn't find a diamond ring. I found it for her through the phone. Another person, her sister passed away. They could not find where she left all of her important things. I told them it was an old piece of furniture that had like the lion legs, those big legs.
Mm-hmm.
I said it's in there. I said it was wrapped in plastic. It was in a blue bag. Sure enough, they were going to throw the furniture out. They pulled the drawer out, put their hand in. It was wrapped in plastic. There were thousands of dollars with this woman's jewelry. I mean, you know, I get blown away. I get blown away with what happens. I mean, when I do the spirit communication, I connect these people with their loved ones. I usually know if it was an accidental passing. They give me. I remember I read this one lady, and I was like a house party, and I remember her husband came through, and they said he passed away from I don't remember. I think it was cancer or whatever it was, but it was actually asbestosis, and he actually told me to tell her to go where she used to work and get some of the dirt and the sand, and picked up the dirt, picked up the sand, and had it analyzed, and sure enough, this man actually died of asbestosis, and she ended up with millions of dollars because she sued where he worked. Now, the funny thing was, after I got done with her private reading, she went out into the living room, and there was an angel on top of the TV. The angel literally flew off the TV and landed at her feet, and she freaked, and she says to me, "What does that mean?" I says, "That means you better listen to your husband, because he's giving you a message from above." So when stuff like that happens to me, I mean, I sit there in awe. You know, and I mean, I've done many fundraisers where, you know, I've raised thousands of dollars for different campaigns. I love animals. I did one for Kent Animal Shelter, raised $5,000 for them. Did one for one of the legislators here. And when you have a legislator contact you to do a fundraiser for you, you know you're on the right path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know.
Now, I've got another question here. I mean, I've got a ton of questions, but I got a question.
Sure.
Once somebody comes to realize that they have some type of psychic, intuitive power,
mm-hmm.
do you have to practice it? I mean, like you would a musical instrument to hone it, hone your skills, or is it just there?
For me, it's just there. I try not to, like some people will say, "Can I ask you one question?" And one question becomes 2 and 3 and 4. I try. I mean, it's because it's the inquisitive part of it, you know.
Right.
I mean, and I do set my appointments. I do read, you know, in certain locations, dinner events, fundraisers. I have a little office not too far from where I live where I do my one-on-ones. But let me tell you, my friend, I get mega testimonials. I mean, I work with the police on murder cases. That one case that was out here in Long Island, Gilgo Beach, one of the major news stations contacts me. In fact, the case with the Gilgo Beach, I told them last June where that body was, that Shannon Gilbert, the body they couldn't find, and they only found it in December. And what upset me a little bit was I didn't know there was a $25,000 reward. So I gave them this information without even knowing, But I do
Seems
a
like
lot of
you've
good.
seems like you've passed up on a lot of financial gain.
Yeah, but not for me, for others. I mean,
But I mean, you could have made a lot of money on certain things about this, and you haven't. And
well, you know what? I believe in God, and I always feel if I help so many people in the long run, I will financially, I mean, I'm driving around with a car that's got 220,000 miles on it. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for it to say, it's done. But I do believe in my gift. I believe in God above all. I'm not a religious person, but I have faith, and I try to do good by people. I will help anybody.
yep.
It's just the right thing to do in my heart.
Hey, well, going back to the UFO abduction? Do you have any personal thoughts on where they're from, what they're doing here, what meaning do they have in our lives, or how they're connected with human beings? Do you have any
Okay.
thoughts on that?
Well, I do feel that, I mean, think back 50 years ago. We didn't have color TV. We didn't have computers. We didn't have cell phones. We could have never had where I'm sitting here watching you on my computer,
Right,
talking
exactly.
with you. Do you seriously think that we are that smart human beings without any interaction from smarter beings in the universe?
Well, I've always found it a little weird that we progressed from horse and buggy in 1900, and 100 years later we've been on the moon, we've
Oh,
done
all of us.
all this technology stuff. It just seems a little bizarre.
Well, I do feel this is going to be a year that we will be contacted. In other words, hopefully, the government will realize that so many of us are believers and so many of us have had sightings. And I have to tell you, a lot of the people that I work with, a lot of of my gifted readers that do different things with me, we get on this conversation about UFOs quite frequently, and I would say most of them have had sightings.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's nothing. It's not like you're talking behind closed doors anymore.
Well, that's
Now
it.
doors are opening, people are believing, and it's happening for real.
Yeah, and people are much more comfortable talking about it,
That-
probably just in the last 10 years, I would say.
mhm.
Uh, we've got so much now on TV about it and everything
Oh
else.
yeah, oh yeah.
So that has helped.
And what I'm really really thrilled at. Of course, Bud Hopkins is no longer with us, nor is
Hmm.
John Mack, nor is Dr. Jean Mundy. But when she passed over 3 or 4 years ago, she actually left me all of her UFO material, and I mean that boggled my mind. But I guess she knew I was real. She knew that I don't BS anybody, and I know she left that for me to to do the right thing with it. I would love to do a TV series or a book or something on this because it's all actual reports of people who've had these experiences.
Yeah, why don't you explain a little bit about who this lady was and what this documentation and stuff is, because I
Sure.
don't think everybody understands that.
Okay, well, Dr. Jean Mundy worked with Bud Hopkins and also worked with John Mack. John Mack was a Harvard professor who sadly got killed in London, okay? He was doing a lecture there, and from what I understand, he got hit by a car. Bud Hopkins has written numerous books. He just passed away, I think, this year, not
Yeah.
that long ago. And Dr. Jean Mundy passed away, I guess, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And she was a therapist that actually worked with abductees, and she is the person that regressed me into my, into me going back. Now, you've got to realize our mind is like a computer. We don't forget anything. And when you do a regression, it takes you back to that time and day of what happened. And the way I found out of the day that I actually had the experience was I had a friend of mine that did my astrological chart, and she said to me, Janet, even if I didn't know you had an experience, just by the date that this happened and your astrological chart, it showed me that something out of this world happened to you. Just by that, you know? So I mean, it was amazing. I mean, now of course, you know, I do a show on the Paranormal TV network called Janet Russell Presents. It's a live call-in show I do on Tuesday. Once a month, I do my live television show called Beyond the Unexplained Women of Spirit. It's almost like The View with all people in the spiritual realm. I have another show called The Spirits Within, where I go to haunted restaurants and venues. I mean, I'm going to be, my dreams literally are coming true. I'm going to be speaking, you know, as a lecturer on this fantastic cruise in January. I've also been invited to speak on another cruise in March from Florida, and it's going to be called the Ghost Cruise. That I'm going to be working with the Key West Paranormal Society. The cruise I'm going on in January, it's actually Robert Sharp has put it together, and it's going to be 8 different, I think 6 or 8 different speakers, and we're all unique within our own field, you know? So Robert asked me would I talk on my UFO experience, because there's so many people that are so into it, and people are still afraid. And you know what? To me, if I can help one person, you know, I do many predictions. From I did a thing on A&E Haunted New York. No, it was Paranormal State. I did something on Haunted New York with Emily Francis. She's no longer with Channel 11. That's why I don't do Channel 11 anymore. I was a psychic to the stars for Channel 11 for about 10 or 11 years. Every year I would go there, and I mean, so many things. But you know what my dream is? My dream is to meet Steven Spielberg. And I know I'm going to meet him because he lives out east, not too far. And I have a good friend of mine that I do my TV show with, Anne-Marie Davin. She does Fame Hampton, and she knows him personally. And I said that would be my dream, just to talk to him about my experiences. I was also asked to do a documentary for major media this spring coming up in Virginia. So I'm getting out there, you know, and
Well, I'll tell you, if I can only hope that, number one, I'm alive at 71, and number two, that I have a quarter of the energy that you have. I mean, you're just go, go, go. And that.
Oh yeah, well I love what I do. You know,
Yeah,
if
that
you
makes
love
it fun. Yeah, that does make it
yeah,
fun. Hey,
you know,
listen,
it's my passion.
we
Yeah.
have a question for you from the chat
Sure.
room, and they're wondering what do you think about why the governments have hidden the whole UFO ET thing from the general public?
Well, I just feel that they're letting it out little by little. There's too many people that are aware. There's too many people that have had sightings. I just feel it's a fear factor. That's what I feel. You know, and when they realize that, look at all of the technology that we have gotten from them. You know, I mean, look at it this way. How many types of different animals do we have? We have dogs, we have cats, we have birds, we have elephants. What makes people not realize that there are definitely other beings on other planets that are so much more intelligent than we are?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
are just infants when it comes to the timeline of the universe. But now, do you think the government could be keeping this from us because of the technology? They don't want that
Possibly.
technology to go out because of the oil monopolies and everything else.
Possibly.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, look, now they're coming out with the solar heat. Now, where are these people getting the houses? The sun is giving them a natural course. We really need to go back to the holistic way of life as well. I truly
absolutely.
believe that. You know, I mean, I do a lot of predictions, and one of my predictions really is that Atlantis will arise again, and it will. And I truly feel that in the ocean, there's so much. We're not going to have to use medications anymore because there's so much natural healing in the ocean. And I truly feel like that's going to be our next big frontier.
Well, they say that, we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the bottom of the ocean,
Exactly.
which is
Exactly.
amazing. How
You
about
know.
how about 2012, the Mayan calendar thing? Any thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? I don't feel like the world's going to end. What I feel, there's going to be more inspiration. I feel more people are going to become. It's going to become more family oriented. It's got to. Number one, we've got to go back to that. Okay, family is extremely important. Okay, we've got to go back to the organic stuff, not sprinkling all this stuff to make us better. Look at how many kids have ADHD, how many kids have Down syndrome, how many kids in the last 30, 40 years that have these illnesses that were never, ever, ever seen before.
Right, right.
Think about it, you know?
It's got to be the stuff, they put in the food. Uh,
What?
I was listening to something today where the majority of farmland in America, the soil is so depleted from the
Yeah.
minerals and trace elements. We've just sucked everything we can out of the land.
Well,
Uh,
that's it, and we're taking all the purity out of it.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what's happening. And if we went back to the days of old and, and became more family oriented, get the seeds, plant your tomatoes, do everything more naturally, I really, truly think that we would be a healthier world. I really, really do.
yep, yep.
You know?
I totally agree with you on that. Totally
But
agree.
unfortunately, there's so much out there now. These people are popping pills. These young people are dying from drug overdoses. It's a sin. It's a total sin.
Yeah.
Something really neat. It just upsets me when I see these young kids. Every day there's another one. And these are intelligent kids, but they get hooked on this stuff, and their life is over. It's
Well,
a tragedy.
drug addiction, and I've always gone by this analogy, it's a symptom of a problem.
Oh, definitely.
There's something behind that. And I just see a real breakdown in the family structure. We've got over 50% divorce rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I see these teenagers that grow up in divorced homes. And not all of them, but a
No.
good part of them,
Mm-hmm.
boy, just spoiled. They have no sense of responsibility whatsoever. And then that just breeds another generation and another generation. We're just going downhill.
And I remember. Well, I'll be 72, God willing, April 23rd. But I remember when I was in high school, or in grammar school. If anybody ever came from a divorced family, they looked at them like they were strange.
Yeah, they were
Now
outcasts.
it's almost one out of every two. It's so sad.
Yeah.
And then they bring these innocent kids into it, and then these kids are torn apart, and it's actually destruction of the family, and that's what happens. It's horrible.
Well, if any,
you used to stay together because that was the right thing to do.
Right.
Now they get bored. See ya. It's not even like they even want to be. It just bothers me.
yeah.
It's sad.
Well, hopefully, if anything does happen on December 21st this year, it will be some sort of enlightenment, something positive.
Yes, I believe that.
With the mind or something.
But I also do feel, all of these tragedies that we've had with the tsunamis and these earthquakes, to me, it's the earth actually regurgitating, cleansing, and making it where, we have to get back to the fertile land. We have to get back to reality, and we have to do the right thing. We got to help our neighbors. Look at these poor Vietnam vets. I mean, I just was talking to somebody today about doing a fundraiser. So many of them are homeless. This is so wrong.
And it's been going on since the end of the war.
It's sad.
You know.
It hurts my heart when I see it, Today I just spoke with somebody about doing some sort of a fundraiser. I'll just donate my time, and 100% will go to these guys. They can't live on the street. It's not right. It's not fair.
No, it sure isn't. Now, especially when the government made them go, basically made them go, and then they get back and they're just tossed to the wayside.
Right, and some of them, so many of them have that post-traumatic stress syndrome. So many of them are sadly hooked on drugs, lose their family, become alcoholics. It's such a tragedy.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, we think we are so smart, the human race, but we have got so far to go.
Oh my.
We are so imperfect, and if the UFO folks and the ETs can do anything for us to take us to that next level, I would volunteer immediately.
Well, I feel like they're doing their work right now, but unfortunately, it's not being shown. In little teeny things. I have no fear because yes, when I was regressed, my body was shaking like a leaf because, of course, you don't see a praying mantis lounging over you, or little white men, or little reptilians, and I mean the thing is, like I say, we have so many different types of pets. We just us as human beings. You have Indians, you have Native Americans, you have people coming from all over the world. Mm-hmm. We do have other beings, and hopefully one day, people will say, hey, yeah, it is out there, and we can work together. And if it means working together to better us as humans, then why not?
Right. I agree. I agree with you. Well, listen, Janet, we're running out of time here. We're getting close to the end of the show, but I wanted to ask you, I know you've got the cruise coming up and stuff. Is there anything that else you would like to make sure the viewers know? Any activities, shows? You want to go over that again, or?
Sure. Well, if they want to contact me, they can email me at rosebudsjanet@msn.com. If they want a private reading, they can go to my website. It's www.janetrussellpresents.com. I am available for fundraisers. I am available for TV and radio shows. Of course, I'm doing 2 cruises, which I am thrilled. I am so thrilled to do, I do travel. I was just down in Florida a couple of months ago, and I was doing stuff with the Key West Paranormal Society. Up here, I have Peggy Vitrano. She runs Eastern Suffolk Paranormal Group. That's the lady that I go with her group when we go to haunted restaurants and, different houses and venues. We literally go there. Oh God, tune in to, I do once a month, I do Mystical Cruise with Robert Sharp. It's a great show. It's on, I usually do it 2 hours. Most of the time it's on a Saturday evening. If they want to sign up for the cruise, you can go to my site, and just contact Robert Sharp and, use me as a referral if they like. The other cruise will be in March, and that they can contact me, and that's what I'm going to be doing that with the Key West Paranormal Society. Every Tuesday night, I'm live on the Paranormal TV Network, where they can actually call in. I'm on live from 9:30 to 10:30. The world is just opening up for me.
That's great.
And I just love it. I do it with a passion. I mean, if I can help anyone down their path, that's what I'm there for.
Well,
and
good.
I really appreciate you asking me to do your show. It was a blessing to me, and I truly, truly enjoyed it. I really have to say.
Well, likewise, Janet. amazing conversation. You're definitely an amazing person. So
Thank you, and don't forget to purchase Rod. I keep changing his name. My guy's going to kill me. Brad Steiger's book, Real Aliens, Space Beings, and Creatures from Other Worlds.
Rules.
Also, a good friend of mine, Lisa Beretta, just wrote a book. I think it's called The Book of Transformation, and it's coming out in May. And she's actually got one whole chapter of me in there on my experience as well. She's an astrologist. She's one of my best friends, and I was honored to have her, do a whole chapter on me. So
well,
lots of good things happening.
yeah, I will. I'll definitely put some of these links up on the topicufo.com website, and of course. I've got your website URL up on the screen right now, so people that are watching tonight. Plus, right now, Janet, we get the majority of our traffic on the replays, where people can pretty much watch when they want, right? So I'll make sure that all that information gets on the replay as well. So
great. And if you're ever in New York, look me up. I'd love to have you as a guest on my TV show.
Sounds great. I love New York. Great town. Last time I was there, went and saw David Letterman's show, and I got to get back. Yeah, great town. Just loved it. I thought the people were just great up there. Nothing what you're told they're like.
Exactly.
All right. Well, listen, Janet, have a great evening. Thank you so much again.
You are so welcome.
Hopefully we can stay in touch and do this again sometime.
Definitely, not a problem. You have a blessed day, and thank you again for asking me to be part of your show. I'm very, thank you for giving me the opportunity. It was very kind of you.
Anytime. Thanks a lot, Janet.
You're welcome. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I'm telling you, is that a lady or is that a lady? 71 years old. She has got just so much going on in her life. I got to tell you, I don't know if I would want to be psychic. I don't know if it would just take over your mind. I don't know. I don't know if I could handle it or not. How about you folks? Would you like to be psychic? All right. Any questions out there? We've got our regulars out there, Mike and Daz. And, we got to give a shout out for Mr. Daz out there. He's got a show called The Unexplained, and that's coming up the first Wednesday in April. I'm not sure exactly what date that is. What date is that, Daz? Come on, Daz. What date is that? Anyway, check it out. Broadcasting from the UK, the Unexplained radio show, internet radio show. Good show. Check that out. Any other? April 4th, Wednesday, April 4th, for Daz's show. All right, very good. Okay, folks. Anything else? All right, well, listen, we're just about 1 minute away from closing this thing up, so thanks again, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out, and tell a friend, okay? So until then, I will bid you a fond farewell until next Thursday when we do this all over again. Good night. The date. It was back on March 27th, 1962. But even just as interesting is what happened after that abduction and her new powers, if you know what I mean. And she's going to talk to us about that. Many of you may already know of Janet. She's been featured on A&E Paranormal State, Haunted New York, Psychic to the Stars on Channel 11 up there in Long Island, New York area. And she's also a TV host of Beyond the Unexplained. And then she's got a new show coming up, or is just started on Paranormal TV Network, which is every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's also been featured in 2 of Brad Stagger's newest books, and we'll talk to her about that as well. So this is going to be a very interesting show. Anyway, let's move on here. I wanted to make sure that everybody bought their lotto ticket for tomorrow. Mega Millions, I believe it is. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. But $500 million estimated jackpot, $500 million. I've bought my 5 quick picks, so I'm hoping. I also want to give a shout out for the Middle Tennessee MUFON meeting that's going to be starting on April 14th, Saturday. This will be a monthly meeting. I've put this together especially for people who live in and around the Nashville area. Currently, there is not a Middle Tennessee meeting, so hopefully that's going to begin to grow. I've got a lot of feedback on it already, and got a lot of people saying they're going to be there, so looking forward to that. And also, hey everyone, welcome to Topic UFO. We are on episode number 10 tonight. Can you believe it? We've actually completed 10 shows. It's been a hectic 10 weeks or 11 weeks, whatever it's been. Each time we get a little better, and luckily the guests and the audience have been very patient with me, so thank you very much for that. Hey, tonight we have a super spectacular show tonight. We have Miss Janet Russell on. She will be our guest here in just a few. She is going to not only talk to us about her UFO abduction, which happened almost 50 years to. So just wanted to let you guys know that we have Topic UFO is now on YouTube, Ustream, the Past TV network, of course, live stream, and you can get them from Topic UFO directly, topicufo.com as well. So we're trying to get this thing spread out as much as possible. So hopefully being on all those different websites will help. Of course, it helps if you tell a friend. All right, well, listen, I want to spend as much time as we can with Janet, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a dial right now and get her on the line.
Hello?
Hello, Janet.
Yes?
Can you hear me? This is Rick from Topic UFO.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I am so excited to be able to talk to you tonight. I don't think, in fact, I know I have never spoken to a UFO abductee, and I've never spoken to a psychic. So this is going to be twice the show for me. So I appreciate you taking the time. Yes, exactly. Well, listen, Janet, I'm not sure if you were listening, but I gave the folks just a quick overview of of kind of your past and what you're involved in. And I know that we got to speak briefly this afternoon, and you are just a go, go, go type person. So I wish I could make this a 2-hour show, because maybe then we could get, a quarter of what you're into. But we'll try to get as much as we can into this show, okay?
Sure, sounds great to me.
All right. Well, listen, let's start off, if you don't mind, where I guess it all began for you with this UFO experience, abduction, back on March 27th, 1962, I believe.
Yes, it was just 50 years ago, 2 days ago, actually. And I will tell